The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences. It's time. For the Low Fact Podcast. Woohoo! So, before we get started on talking about whatever it is that we're going to talk about, I'm going to gripe a little bit about the same junk that I always gripe about.
Really?
Yes. And I'm going to say, again, if you have to be over 21 to smoke or drink, I think you should be over 21 to vote. I think you should be over 21 to be considered an adult. Including
military service.
Everything. You are a minor until you're 21 years old. And here in California, right, the penal system, they have the the California Youth Offender Authority or whatever. In some cases, it's up to 25. So in that case, I say you go get to smoke, drink, vote, or do anything until you're 25, but then you'd have to raise the minimum age for being in Congress. Well, no, you wouldn't, right? You could be in Congress at 25. The same year that you start voting and all that other crap and being an adult.
What is the minimum age for Congress?
25.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it's 25 to be a congressman, 30 to be a senator, and 35 to be president.
Huh.
But, you know, I mean, as long as... Because I think it's dumb. I've been thinking it's dumb. If you're an adult at 18... then why does the state have to treat you like a child?
I honestly don't know.
And if they say some stupid ass bullshit like an 18-year-old's brain isn't totally whatever, so that's why we should keep them from drinking and smoking.
Right.
Then I'm like, well, you know what? You should keep them from doing all the other shit too.
But they want young men. They're happy for young men to die. Well,
yeah, I'm pretty sure if they increase the age to go to the military, like the military would be gutted. There wouldn't be anybody in the infantry.
Because is the majority of people, 18 to 21?
In the infantry?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty young.
So you'd have to wait 3 years.
At least 3 years, right? Depending on how they want to define adulthood. But
how is a 25-year-old not an adult? Under the youth offender stuff, is it if they're still at home?
No, they just did shit that way. Well, hell, you could stay on your parents' insurance up to 25, right? So I'm sitting there going, you know.
Why is it always California that has the weirdest shit, though?
Who knows? You know what? I'm not even gonna.
You're not gonna go there.
Well, because it's stupid, man. Everybody says the same bullshit. It's all about power. It's all about this, about communism, blah 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 blah. You know?
We need a camera so people can see that look on your face when you do that.
Look, the thing that pisses me off is how stupid are we? And by looking at the things that people can get away with, I think we're pretty fucking stupid. Of course, there's the other part of me that clings desperately to the Mark Twain quote.
Which one?
You know, if voting meant anything, they wouldn't let us do it.
Yeah.
So... Well, actually, that's not clinging to it. That's part of the cynicism, right? Never mind.
See, I think people have gotten dumber.
I don't know, man.
They have. And it's, I think it's all part of it's all very deliberate. They want people to be dumb.
But they fall into their own trap.
You mean the people who are trying to...
Yeah, to dumb down everybody else? They're dumber too. So how stupid are we that we let a bunch of dumbasses lead us around through the nose like a bunch of bulls with those little nose rings on? Anyway, that was my little aside that will probably go on for ad nauseum.
So do you think everyone's dumb enough just to forget everything that went on, that goes on?
Being someone who doesn't forget anything? Any perceived wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's like, sports is back, everything's back. We're supposed to just kind of forget that like what? How many years got taken away? Was it at least 3, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's some bullshit.
Like I said, being someone that don't forget perceived slights.
It's not a perceived slight. It's a real slight.
I'm
slight
saying
on everybody.
Any slight,
yeah,
real or perceived. I'm not like that.
That makes me mad.
As well as I think it's supposed to. But anyway, so I guess that's enough of that.
Yeah. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about judgment, because
judgment being a negative thing.
Yeah. Well, looking down on other people.
In what sense?
In the sense of when you are. I have a tendency to look at something that anybody that is doing anything, whether it's like on the road or just stuff in general, where I'm just like, I'll be like, oh, fucking morons, right? That's like my big thing that I'll say, what a fucking moron, right?
Which is, you know, not to blow sunshine off your ass or anything, but that's pretty normal.
Right? I'm just like fucking morons, but I have a really bad habit of looking down on other people's behavior, but I don't really sit there and look at my own behavior with that same keen sense of, criticism, I guess.
So I guess to recapitulate, what you're saying is you look down on people for doing the same things that you do?
Pretty much. And so I asked you this question yesterday when we went on the podcast. I was like, well, how do you become less judgmental? Judgmental is the word I'm using.
Okay. And
your response was, well, just turn that judgment on yourself.
Well, that's what I do, just naturally. Someone does something stupid in front of me,
mm-hmm.
like pulls out very unsafely onto traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the same thing, you dumbass, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But then when I do it, and me sitting in the car, doesn't matter if there's anybody in there or not, I say it to myself too, like, you fucking dumbass, why'd you do that? That's unsafe. So yeah, I think, not that I think I'm a paragon of virtue or anything, or that I don't look down on people. Actually, I don't think I look down on people, quite simply because I don't consider other people that much, which in and of itself could be a very bad thing.
See, I think if you have tendencies toward narcissism, which I know that I do.
Don't everybody?
Yeah, but there's different levels, dude. Like people who are like very, very extremely narcissistic will never turn the light on themselves. They'll never put themselves under the microscope and kind of like assess their own conduct.
Well, this is as a point of curiosity. Is that because you already think that you're the highly evolved super being, or like why do people do that? Is my question.
Why are people narcissistic?
Or what? Yeah, sure. Or why would you do that?
I think narcissism is something that comes from, it's taught. I think if you have some narcissists around you,
yeah,
then, or let's say narcissistic parents or narcissistic people that you surround yourself with, I think you're more narcissistic.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that makes it very hard to sit there and and I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to do it, but I think it makes it very hard to kind of look at your own behavior, because you kind of give yourself shit. It doesn't even come up. It's not like it's like an assessment of like, oh, I'm not going to look at my own behavior. You literally have I don't even know that it's a conscious thought. Well, I'm sitting there and judging all these people for stuff I do.
Well, I guess the flip side of that is to give them the same break you give yourself.
Yeah.
Because people are different, and there are people that don't do that, and there are people that do that. So if there are people that don't do that, then yeah, you can keep on thinking that they're dumbasses as long as you think that you're the same way. But if you're the type that gives yourself a pass, then I think you should probably give them a pass too.
Yeah, but that presupposes that you have some clarity about your own looking at yourself.
What do you mean by what do you mean?
That means you would have to be able to have enough. You would have to be doing some self-assessment.
Okay.
To see that, and and I don't know. I feel like a lot of people don't. They're not rising to that level of looking at themselves.
I don't know if I would couch as rising to.
Well, it is.
I mean, either you do it or you don't. That is the way I look at it.
Yeah, but I think self-assessment and kind of looking at something like that, I would call that a virtue, and it's a virtue that many people don't have.
Do you think things would be better if people did, though?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because then people would be more focused on their own actions, and they fix those actions on other people.
And through your line of thinking, then hopefully they would either try to amend those actions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Because there are people that would probably do that and then still don't change anything, right?
I don't think that it ever gets to the point of even people looking at it, though.
Okay.
I don't think it even, like if you're talking about, like, extreme narcissists, like, an extreme narcissist will never sit there and acknowledge that they ever did anything wrong.
Right, but also in your example, or in your mode of thinking.
Driving is the example I always think of, because I get behind the wheel and I say, fucking this, fucking that, look at this moron, look at this person doing, look at what that person's doing. And when I'm in that mode, I'm not sitting there looking at any. I'm like, my driving is the best driving in the world.
Okay. Because where I was going was, there needs to be a certain level of competitiveness in a person who wants to do better than other people or whatnot, right? So in terms of the world becoming a better place because people start looking at stuff,
mm-hmm.
those people also need to have a bit of a competitive drive to want to be a better person than their neighbor.
That's true.
And the reason I thought of that was for many years, the better part of a couple of decades almost, I went to the gym, but I still ate a boatload of food.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until everything got closed and you were moving around a lot more and you were starting to drop weight. Because, up until that point, I went to the gym pretty religiously.
That's right. I got on the scales and I was like, dude, I've lost fucking 19 pounds.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh no.
But you're one competitive son of a bitch, so.
A little bit. But
I can't believe you did that, by the way.
But remember, I could not lose weight to save my life.
I know.
I was going to the gym.
You were looking pretty...
portly.
Yeah.
I was working out and I just seemed to get more muscle mass, but also ate more to support that muscle mass. So then all of a sudden I just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
I was eating less and moving around, and a big part of that was because the buffets were closed.
Well, yeah, that was helpful, but like I said, it took someone in my social sphere, which is incredibly small, to start doing some stuff. And I was like,
See, but the difficulty that I come back to is if you think you're God's gift to humanity, which most narcissists do.
Well, I think most people do. I don't think you should. I guess my point is, I don't think you should sit there and judge yourself so harshly. In terms of, sitting here as an exterior, as someone outside your head,
mm-hmm.
when I hear you say stuff like that, I was like, well, yeah, okay, that
but
may be...
You must know I'm a narcissist, though.
I never really thought of it.
Really?
To tell you the truth.
But you must.
That's presupposing a whole lot of stuff.
See, that's narcissistic in itself, that I would think that you're sitting there looking at my behavior. You see, I just proved my own point.
Okay.
I proved my own point.
Okay, but yeah, I don't,
because a narcissist, right? A narcissist believes that the world revolves around them and that everybody is always looking at the narcissist and behaving and responding according to the narcissist moving in their sphere.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But people who aren't narcissists are like, I'm just doing my own thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm not even worrying about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to the narcissist, that's like bursting your bubble.
So in this example, you're the narcissist and I'm not?
Yes.
Okay.
That bursts my bubble.
Funnily enough, my competitive drive does not make me more narcissistic. Or want to be.
So we have established that competitive drive is a good thing.
Can be, I suppose. I mean, you know, you want to lose weight, you want to be around people that are actually doing it, then.
So competition is maybe not a narcissistic tendency then, or is it?
You know what? That's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that. I just know that I've always been a very competitive person.
Well, you know what? I think it depends on what you're competing for. Like if what you want is, if you're competing for fame, mm-hmm. or competing for what your peers consider you to be, you know, all those sort of external things, mm-hmm. then I would say that's competition in a narcissistic kind of mind frame. Whereas if it's just about bettering yourself personally, mm-hmm. that is not a narcissistic thing. That's something different.
Okay.
So I think there's a distinction.
I just remember how funny it was when I started dropping weight after you started dropping weight. You were so unhappy.
Yeah, well, also I started. I started eating more baked goods at a certain point and moving less, and so.
And oddly enough,
I also put back on a lot of that weight.
Oddly enough, I haven't, and I've actually started to. I'm still making some gains.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. Because I all that weight I lost, I put it back on.
Oh wow!
Pretty much.
But I also think it's kind of funny how during that time, supposedly everybody was gaining all this weight.
Yeah.
And you and I were losing weight.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. And we never. And the funny thing is, we never stopped getting together. We never stopped recording. Like, unfortunately, our social life didn't really change that much.
Well, I think that's fortunate, but it also is a kind of sad commentary on what our social life was to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was already working out of my house.
Yeah. Well,
so
you and me both.
The only thing that was different was living here in LA County, where they fucking shut everything and killed a lot of businesses and stuff. Whereas, like where you are down in Orange County, I feel like it was there was some changes that were made in Orange County, but in general, like things kind of kept on going.
Well, the stuff that could open did. I mean, the gyms were closed.
You could still go out and order a burger, though.
Yeah.
Here they shut stuff. They shuttered stuff.
I do remember the when I was out and about. Like, there's a certain chain restaurant that I refuse to go to now because I'm a jerk.
Because they closed it?
No. The people.
Are you talking about the pizza place?
Yeah. They were.
Yeah.
I went in to order a pizza, and this woman behind the counter is like, "You can't come in here unless you got a mask on." I was like, "Look, I'll just cover my face then. I just want to order a pizza and get out." Like, "Oh no, you can't do that." I was like, "Well, fine then."
Right.
I'll just never come back.
I had the same issue with my local bookshop. It's like one guy, and like now that everything's over, he's still wearing a mask. And I went to secondhand books. I went to buy some secondhand books, and I always go in there and I buy a couple of books. And he was like, "Oh, you got to wear a mask." And I was like, "But the mask mandates are done with." And he was like, "Oh, you still got to wear a mask when you come in." And I was like, "Well,
no.
I guess I'm not coming in here and buying any books then."
And now, and look, I have no delusions of grandeur. I don't think anyone.
He can wear a mask. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
When I vote with my pocketbook, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm an unwanted customer, essentially. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not unwanted. I'm an unappreciated one. Nobody cares. I don't spend enough money anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, but I haven't bought food from that place in over 3 years.
That's true. We used to go there
at least once a month.
With a buddy of ours as well, we used to go there at least once a month.
Yeah, at least once a month. Okay, and we didn't buy that. It's like $20.
Right.
But
well, plus they also hiked up their prices
like 50 cents.
Oh, was it? Oh, thought it was more.
I do remember one time when my sister and my niece came to town, they wanted to get that particular stuff, and I was like, okay, we'll just go to a different one.
Well, that manager was a dumbass.
She wasn't a manager. That's the funny thing about it. It's just some random lady that worked behind the counter that I believe lived an essentially powerless existence. Mm-hmm. And that was another thing, lived a powerless existence, and now they had a say.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you're going to do what I say. I'm like, well, fine. But, you know.
That just seems, that's an interesting topic in itself. The idea that, like, when you have somebody that has no power and then you give them a little bit of power, that's about the worst person.
Yeah, they're fascist pigs.
Yeah. So I'm just like, what does that say? You know.
About people?
Well, what does it say about giving power to people that shouldn't have it?
Well, I don't think anyone should have that much power to begin with.
Oh.
Because, right, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah. So she was wearing a mask. She's probably behind one of those pieces of perspex as well.
No, they just, you know, I think that person just thought it was kind of cool to tell someone else, tell a perfect stranger what to do.
Yeah.
And when I run into people saying that, oh, no, people are basically good, and if you give a person a choice between doing something good and doing something bad, they'll do something good. I'm like, well, my experience, which, you know, is empirical. I haven't done like a randomized study with hundreds of thousands of people to see what happens, but in my life, I have found that the opposite is true.
Yeah.
And, you know, the only time when it's not true is when it's someone I know. So,
what do you mean?
Well, if I know somebody, they're going to give me all kinds of passes.
Okay.
You know, I remember when I was in college, they used to tape the bio lectures. And
you being the slacker that you were.
I don't know that I was... Yeah, okay. You're right, I was. I would just not go to bio class because they had the lectures.
You were a fucking brainy slacker. I hated people like you
at university. But the funny thing is what I would do is I would keep up with the classes. I just wouldn't go to class.
That's what I'm talking about, Dave. You got an amazing brain.
I wouldn't go to class, but I'd watch the lectures and take notes just like I was going to class.
What the hell happened?
Life happened, brother. Life happened. But there was one point where I think I was chasing after some girl, so like 2 months had gone by where I didn't go to class. That's almost a whole semester. So I had to go, and the limit was you couldn't check out more than 2 at a time.
Yep.
Right? Well, I had a buddy that worked at the library, and he gave me all of them. He gave me all, like, however many it was. Mm-hmm. 18 or 20 of them or whatever.
Right. And you just like locked yourself away?
Yeah, I just went to one of the audiovisual rooms.
Yeah.
And because I have a conscience, as soon as I finished one, I'd go back and give it to
somebody else wanted it. Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And so my buddy, every time I come back, my buddy was always laughing. I'm like, what's so fucking funny? He's like, man, I've had so many people wanting all these, and they're all gone. I'm like, oh, you know, they'll come back when they come back. Because you couldn't have taken them out of the library.
No.
So,
unless you're going to steal them.
Right. And if I wanted to, he would have let me do that too.
Right.
So that's my point. If I didn't know this guy,
yep,
he wouldn't have let me borrow more than 2.
Yep.
Hell, I didn't even have to put my name down for any of them.
Right.
So that's my point. So if you know somebody, then yeah, they're going to cut you a break, which is why the whole we're all the same, which is what when everybody's like, oh, we're all equal, you know, saying we're all the same.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, you know, this has been my gripe about that. Like, we are not all the same, and we don't all have equal relationships, because if we did, family, friends, all that junk wouldn't matter.
No.
We wouldn't have that. Our, you know, society is based on
relationships.
Right. And to sit there and try to say we don't need them, I'm going, are you high?
Well, I think it's bullshit when people say it.
Actually, not even are you high. It makes me think of that Socrates principle.
Okay.
You know, if you know a principle, can you then not know it?
Mm.
So, you know, to turn it around a little bit, what he's saying is you can't be ignorant of something that you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things that I think is kind of going on really prevalently nowadays is that there's a whole swath of people claiming to be ignorant of stuff that they know, or at least they should know. No. I'm not even going to put that last part in there. They are claiming to be ignorant about stuff that they know.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, that defies logic, because there's a whole lot of behavior going on, and by analogy, because I wanted to say this because I thought about it this morning, by analogy, that's like sitting there thinking, I'm going to drink, because when people complain about how things are going, I have often, to you and to other, it's essentially close relatives, because, you're about the only non-related person that I talk to on a regular basis anyway. I say, I don't know why people are complaining about the way things are. This is what they wanted.
Right. And which would always is going to rub somebody the wrong way.
Rubbed you the wrong way, rubbed my relatives the wrong way. They said, this is not what they wanted. I'm like, look.
This is a logical...
What
you're saying is this is the logical conclusion. Well, this is the logical result of...
Right. Just like if you sit there, say, at the beginning of the night, I'm going to drink until I'm shit-faced drunk. Well, if you drink till you're shit-faced drunk, you're probably going to throw up.
Right.
You're probably going to feel like crap the next morning. Chances are pretty high.
Yep.
And when these things happen and you're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, what are you complaining about? You wanted this to happen.
Right.
Right? You can't claim ignorance about something you already know. You already know if you have drunk a lot of alcohol yourself or observed other people that drank a lot of alcohol, you already know what happens when you drink a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
So now you can't sit there and claim ignorance. I didn't know this was going to happen if I drank too much alcohol. I mean...
Do you think that people know, or do you think that people are just stupid? And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that my behaving this way was going to lead to this.
Well, when you say no and stupid, you kind of put the two together. One of my favorite terms, right? I can always forgive ignorance.
Right.
But I can't forgive stupidity. And stupidity is, knowing something or should know something and yet still do it.
Yeah.
Then you're stupid.
Well.
So yes, I think they are stupid, and I do think they know. And if they don't know, if you're gonna claim ignorance on that,
yeah,
you had best be a toddler.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then maybe you should go have a really long talk with your parents. And if you weren't raised by anybody, then maybe you should take a good look at the sources of information that you're relying on.
Yeah.
Because I personally think that we have, as people, a pretty good toolkit compared to other animals like fish. We got a little bit more brain power than most fish.
And I think the funny thing is that from what you were saying, I think people instinctively or subconsciously or whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, they know when something is like doesn't pass the smell test in terms of what we're talking about. Like they know. Like and if they don't know, then I think they're just ignoring things.
Well, also, they're also going along to get along, which is a little unforgivable in my book.
Yeah.
You can't claim to have some kind of love or communal responsibility and go along because, well, I got kids to feed, or I've got like Netflix subscriptions to pay for, or whatever it is. Dude, I understand the responsibilities and the requirements of life. But if you think it's okay, I'll be the only person that quote unquote, turns a blind eye, somebody else will pay my tab.
Yeah. Well,
as someone that's got to pay your tab, I'm like, no. Why don't you sack up a little bit?
Yeah.
And that's the deal. Well, we're almost out of time actually, so I guess we'll stop that here. Maybe continue this discussion next time.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Like, subscribe, all that other stuff.
Share.